Oh, this is gonna be a good one, dude. These fucking lawyers of Reddit. What is your oh freak moment in court? Oh my god, this is gonna be fucking awesome, bro. This is gonna be fucking awesome. My fiance's mom is actually a practicing attorney. So these stories are always really fun when they talk about like her experiences, the experience with somebody else. Yeah, let's get into it, man.
Lawyers of Reddit, what was your oh shit moment in court? Not oh shit bad. Oh shit, I can't believe she said that. First jury trial, pretty serious charges. I'm cross-examining the alleged victim. And in answering my question she says, oh yeah, I lie all the time. Needless to say, I won that trial. When I was 16, I tapped into a guy's bumper at a red light. Very minor impact, the car was almost completely stopped. I spent the next 5 years getting sued by this guy, who alleged all sorts of ridiculous injuries. When it finally came to trial, it somehow came out that the guy would take 3-mile walks. When he was on the stand, my attorney asked him if he was, in fact, able to walk for up to 3 miles. I can walk 10 miles, he bragged. Jury didn't give him a dime, and he had to pay court costs.
I can actually walk 10 miles while I'm sitting in here suing her for injuries. I can walk so far.
LMAO, when I was clerking for a judge over the summer, I watched a trial where the respondent was on the stand and his own attorney asked him a question about the advice to break the law his previous attorney had given him, thus opening the door to cross about the same thing.
His own attorney asked about advice to break the law. What?
The second it happened, I saw the attorney's oh shit realization, and it was so hard not to laugh. Story from a friend of mine. He was defending a guy in court. Don't remember what he was charged with. The main witness for prosecution was on the stand and was asked if she could identify the defendant. She was scanning the courtroom and seemed confused. My friend was already silently celebrating because if she couldn't identify him, he could probably get all charge dropped, as he was mentally adding this case to the win file. He happened to glance over at his client, who had just helpfully raised his hand to make it easier for her to identify him. Even the judge face palmed on that one.
But doesn't that help prove that he's innocent? He's so pleasant. It's me. I'm the guy that they're talking about. They mean me. Or he's so stupid he thought I have to identify myself? That's so funny, bro. He fucking identified himself for her,
Never
bro.
ask a question to which you don't know the answer. Prosecutor suggested to me client that the canned goods he had burgled were to be used to trade for drugs. Me thinking the idea ludicrous, asked my client whether he has ever traded food for drugs, to which he replied that he once exchanged a frozen chicken for heroin. Needless to say, I didn't win that one.
Well, that's a mistake.
Sat in the public gallery at a bail hearing for a man accused of heinous crimes against a very, very young female relative. The judge started laying out the conditions of bail, and one of them was to surrender his passport. Man turned to his attorney and said, loudly, words to the effect of, "But you said I could fly back to my home country." The judge stopped himself and revoked the man's bail.
But you said I could leave.
A lawyer I used to know was in court on a work injury case. The judge asked his client, just what is the nature of your injury? His client replied, I can't raise my arm this high anymore, while she raised her arm up to show just how high she couldn't raise it. OMG, that's fucking gold.
Yeah.
Case dismissed. Bring in the dancing lobsters.
That's good. I can't raise my hand this high. It doesn't go as high as it's going right now. And I really need to be able to go up like that to grab things. So that's really the big deal. I can only raise it to here. Not here. This is too high for me.
I was the dumbass that almost screwed myself. I had 2 charges in 2 different courts. I accepted the first plea, which almost always carries probation, but my plea didn't have that condition. When it came time to accept the second plea, the prosecutor didn't include probation because she assumed my first charge put me on probation. She said as much to the judge, and me being a big dummy almost corrected her. My lawyer grabbed my shoulder and, I shit you not, told me to shut the fuck up. She doesn't know. Never interrupt your enemy when they are making a mistake.
Shut the fuck up. She doesn't know. Alright, we're gonna take this
Person
win.
I was representing was on trial for assault in the 3rd degree and DUI. In my state,
Ooh.
A3 means you've assaulted an aid worker or police officer and is a felony.
Oh,
the
no.
allegations are that he was very verbally abusive to the officers and, at one point, kicked one in the face.
Ooh.
We are sitting at the defendant's table and the officer is testifying about the statements my guy made to him, including some pretty horrific name calling. Out of nowhere, my client screams, "You're a fucking liar. Fuck you son of a bitch. We lost that trial." Another time, the judge asked a client whether anyone had coerced him into pleading guilty, and he said, "Yeah, my attorney. I about shit my pants." But he laughed and said, "I'm joking. No."
What kind of trial is that? Where the guy is so fucking chill about it, he's making jokes in court? That's fucking
I was just
funny.
interning in court during law school, but I'm a lawyer now. Fight in a club. Someone had broken someone else's jaw and had 6 friends with him that insisted he had been identified wrongly because he never had a beard and the victim said he had a beard. They used a very specific phrasing to the tune of "My friend doesn't have facial hair because he is a professional in the food industry," and it would go against the regulations.
Okay.
After 3 of the witnesses had repeated the same exact phrasing, the
Right.
judge stopped one to ask if he knew what a couple of the terms in that line meant, and the witness couldn't explain it. Defense lawyer got busted for instructing the witnesses. She'd also gotten the defendant to reject a plea deal that exchanged prison time for a fine and community service.
What? Why the fuck would you do that? My friend doesn't have facial hair because he's a professional in the food industry and it would go against the regulations. Why would you not be able to explain? Is there anybody, and I'm not trying to be rude, but is there anybody out there who could not explain what that sentence means? I'm not seeing anything there that would identify for me, but maybe, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting that you wouldn't be able to explain that. Also, his attorney apparently is just trash.
I was at a hearing arguing that my
Wow.
client was wrongfully terminated because the employer failed to abide by the proper procedures. During the hearing, a witness for the employer tried to offer documents that were fraudulently altered in order to make it look like the proper procedure was followed.
That's
I
a
noticed
big
the
no-no.
alteration. Opposing counsel quickly got that witness out of the room. And after a quick adjournment, my client got a large settlement.
Oh,
Watching a hearing when the
congratulations.
defendant said, I did stab her, but it was a gentle stabbing. Reminds
What
me of something
the
I read
fuck?
on here where the person said, "I hit her with a knife." Stabbing. That's called stabbing. He ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times. Not exactly in court, but I was defending a juvenile robbery case where there was very little evidence. There was supposed to be 2 guys, but they only picked up this one kid. He had no stolen property on him. He was picked up like outside his own house, wearing
What?
different clothes than the victim had initially said. This kid was on the honor roll at school. His family seemed kind and were involved. He wrote poetry and played instruments.
Oh my
I
god.
actually believed it was a legit mistaken identity case. I went to meet with one of the kid's mentors for a character reference, and he exactly matched the description of the other robber. So the homie roll kid was a robber to them.
What?
Sitting in
What?
court doing some plea paperwork with a defense attorney for a go-home plea agreement, where person is released from custody and doesn't have to do jail time. We hear this kish to our left, and we look to see his guy sitting in the galley all by himself, sitting in the cloud of a biggest vape hit I have ever seen. Then has the audacity to tell the judge it went off in his hand. Do not pass go. Do not go free that day. I'm not an
Damn
attorney,
it.
but a reporter whose beat is the county courthouse. So I've had plenty of these moments happen in front of me. A guy was convicted of attempting to murder several police officers.
Oh,
At
shit.
his sentencing, the prosecutor revealed the defendant got a prison tattoo while he was awaiting sentencing of a tombstone with the names of all the cops he attempted to kill. But
What?
the defendant still had the audacity to beg for a lenient sentence. He got a few hundred years in jail.
God damn. That's a terrible idea. You know, sometimes I wonder why lawyers' jobs are so hard. And I think now I know. People just go off the handle with their great ideas. That's
I was
insane.
interning during law school prosecuting domestic violence cases. The deputy DA asked me to talk for the first time during a guy's arraignment. for beating his wife. An
Oh.
arraignment is when the defendant hears the charges against them and pleads guilty or not guilty. Basically, when the judge calls on me to speak, I got insanely nervous and told the defendant that his charge carried a maximum penalty of 30 years when it was actually 30 days. He freaked out. The crowd some in the gallery were his family and friends. Gasps. The judge basically stops me and says, "I think you mean 30 days, counselor." After which everyone, including the defendant, laughed at me.
What?
Presented a pro bono client that had just turned 18 and was charged with serious property
Pro bono, man. Good job, man. Some free
damage.
shit.
I walk into his bail hearing and the judge looks at him and goes, "I knew you'd be back as an adult." The judge then turns to me and says, "Counselor, you may want to learn about your client's history. No bail. Not a lawyer, but was working at the jail when an inmate came back from court and immediately
See you later, my love.
went on suicide watch. Apparently he was up for a plea deal and was only looking at 6 months, but started questioning some of the facts, which let in a ton of previously denied evidence. This new evidence linked him to 6 B&Es and rapes. He walked out of court facing a 99-year sentence,
Whoa!
which he was certain to get, all because he opened his mouth.
That's unfortunate.
I'm not a lawyer, but I was a character witness for my childhood dog in a civil trial between our neighbors and my parents.
The dog. Okay, right. Okay, I got
Opposing
you.
counsel was questioning me. I wasn't even out of elementary school at the time, and he asked if our dog was aggressive. She was a Rottweiler and very loving and incredibly protective of me and my siblings. His final question to me is one I will never forget. He asked, "Did your father tell you what to say before you came into court today?" I
You said,
responded, yes.
yes.
Then he asked, "What did he tell you to say?" I said the truth. Now I was too young to remember the courtroom reaction, but according to my father, the judge audibly guffawed and the opposing counsel lost all the wind out of his sails.
That is so good.
We were just sitting around because of delay of some sort. Over the course of about 5 minutes, about 8 heavily armored sheriff's deputies quietly shuffled into the room and everyone was told they need to sit real fucking still until told otherwise. Another 3 big
Goddamn.
boys lead in the defendant. Small Italian-American gentleman in shackles. He was up on a few pretty boring fraud charges. I'm guessing he had friends on the outside who wanted to speak to him. Also, there was the guy who called the male judge ma'am. He was funny. Not in the courtroom,
Okay.
but just outside when, right before my first jury trial, the opposing counsel is walking up and down the hallway shaking hands with the sheriffs, the court admin personnel, a few judges and other lawyers. I was an out-of-town lawyer. Did I mention this was my first jury trial?
Yeah,
Who was hoping to
damn.
just not get lost. Anyway, I won.
Hey,
Medical
congratulations.
malpractice defense lawyer here representing hospital/doctors. This was not my oh shit moment,
That's gonna
but
be a-
plaintiff's oh shit moment. For
gonna be a bad-
context, usually at trial, both plaintiff and defendant will have an expert physician testify as to their opinion too, whether the doctor/hospital performed everything correctly. I thoroughly researched plaintiff's expert, who was an OBGYN baby delivery, and found out he had been suspended a number of times for his
That-
own botched deliveries and giving incorrect medical testimony to help plaintiff's cases.
Wow.
During the actual day of
Cashing out.
trial, turns out he was not licensed to practice medicine independently without supervision from another physician, and he was 1 year into his 3-year suspension.
Oh, come
Plaintiff's
on.
lawyers had no idea about their own expert's background and they just sat there with a blank look on their face. Needless to say, during cross-examination, we destroyed his credibility and won at trial.
Yeah. that's
Unfortunately, I'm
unfortunate.
not allowed to say too much, but basically, on charges of growing marijuana, stated he was growing herbs for medicine, and gestured air quotes with his hands and then whispered, "I kid you not, marijuana, bro. You have been visited by the smart studying doggo. You'll be blessed with good grades only if you subscribe to comment awards and like the video." On top, food chain.
That's fucking good. That is so good. Oh my gosh. Those things all belong in fucking movies, man. Just the thought of it happening in real life in front of your eyes when it's so important must be either extremely stressful or very satisfying. I know I have a couple of lawyers out there, or a couple of people practicing to be lawyers. Also, I don't know if you guys passed the bar or not. But I would love to hear some of you guys' opinions or stories on this. And I'll let you guys later, man. Peace.